Well, ladies and gentlemen, now on the other side, we're going to be having a great panel discussion on government and gaming legalities, frameworks, and regulations. Well, the government of India has increased its focus on gaming once it was included in metal sports. Looking towards the current steps and the future expectations to fortify the gaming ecosystem, let's have our eminent panelists now on your stage and screen. Well, joining us first up is Sameer Bade, the CEO of the online Rummy Federation, joining us. Puneet Singh, who is going to be the co-founder and CEO of Basi Games. Shiva Nandan Pare, the CEO of Gaussian Networks. L. Badri Narayanan, Executive Partner, Lakshmi Kumaran and Sridharan Attorneys. We've got Sarthak Doshi, the Associate Ikigai Law. We've got Ajit Mishra, Partner International Team, Harrison Clark, Recoveries Limited. Thank you to all our eminent panelists for joining us. And ladies and gentlemen, the session chair of this panel discussion is going to be Sudhir Mishra, the Managing Partner, Trust Legal. Thank you, Sudhir, for joining us on this and being a part of our eminent panel discussion. With this, I pass on the live rein to you to take forth with your eminent panel. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Bhavna, and good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon to people who are from outside the country. I believe Ajit is from London. And it's a very important topic. We have many lawyers in this panel, and we will be discussing first the business part of it. And I will also tell you that it was in 2017, while I was representing All India Gaming Federation in the Supreme Court, we managed to ensure that the Law Commission report goes basically to the Supreme Court on time. It took a lot of effort, a lot of advocacy from various business associations which were part of the evolving gaming industry at that time, but also that the Supreme Court actually was expected to consider the report of the Law Commission, which was filed that year. Unfortunately, no such view has come so far. And that is one reason why we are not very clear. We never thought what is going to happen on part of the government. I think the government also was given the same report by the Law Commission through the proper mechanism which was expected to be. To some extent, we were doing that advocacy. And because of the pandemic, in last 1.5 years, nothing much has moved in the Supreme Court. And I don't have much to inform with regard to the issues which started from Law Commission. Their deliberation, it was quite positive. They had varied dimension in that report. It was for the public to consider. It was for the government to look. It was for the finance ministers across the country to see it as a revenue opportunity, as a taxation opportunity. How much we are keen about it, I think the government still has to really extend its hand forward to decide that which way they want to go, how much regulation they want to do, how much automatic regulation they're expecting the industry to do. And more than that, is it an opportunity they want not to miss with reducing with the reducing taxation in many areas and lack of economic activity, and with the need of the hour being more taxes for our welfare schemes? Is it a good idea that a proper mechanism comes now in picture? So the government and gaming legalities framework regulation is a very dynamic stage we are now. But before we go to the business part, before we go to the legal part, let me first ask that what our business owners think about it, because there are few states in India who have been progressive about it. There are few states who have banned it. There are few states who have been going against it. There are few who want to encourage it. So Sameer, I'll start with you. What do you think from a business player, that where we are and what are your daily nightmares?
So the daily nightmares, I think everyone on the panel and everyone else in the room is fairly aware of. The fact that there'll be a knee-jerk reaction at any point of time from anywhere, which is an entire gamut in that sense of where it can go and what it can happen with it. I think the 2 or 3 facts that we need to sort of be aware of. One is that, I'm sorry, just give me a second. The pleasures of work from home. We have a cat fight outside the house. So one, I think we are aware of the fact that every time there is anything new age that comes in, the government is usually playing catch up. And this is a classic case of that happening yet one more time. We've seen this with mobility, we've seen this with telecom, we've seen this with probably every new sector that's come in where this has happened. And so, in a sense, I don't mind saying that a bit of it is expected. And we just hope that we're faster of the blocks this point of time. So, point number one for me would be to state that. Point number two, I think, is clearly to understand that this is a sector that's going to be far bigger than even entertainment. I mean, it is a form of entertainment. It's going to be far bigger than any other form of entertainment in very short time. Given the various things that are working in the session before this, we heard Rajan talk about the demographics, the mobile penetration, disposable incomes. There are many tailwinds to ensure that this sector really booms in that sense. Is already booming, but will accelerate far more. And so there is a need to sort of unostrich ourselves, if you will, that we need to be aware of the fact that this is not something that you are going to be able to wish away. I'm not even getting into the right or wrong of whether you should, but even let's for a moment consider that it's the right thing to do. You're still not going to be able to do it. And so the need for the hour is that everyone, all the stakeholders, become aware of the fact that regulation, possibly at least to begin with, whether it's self-regulation, and that's a matter of debate, or whether it's government that should be regulating it, is the need for the hour, and is something that really needs to be taken up and done extremely well. Finally, I think this whole subject around state and center is again something that in this case becomes a big quandary. And the reason for that is that we have this whole phenomenon of online gaming, which has become far bigger than offline gaming. And the state's ability to actually be able to then, even if it wishes to be able to really moderate this, regulate it properly, is something that is not quite clear.
Yes.
And so, I mean, as opening comments, I think those three things would definitely be something that we need to think about.
No, very good. Can you hear me? Yeah. So, Puneet, I'll come to you, and I just want you to demystify this entire aspect of whatever you do at Baazi, and how you think that, because what Samir is saying, and very rightly, that it happened in the IT industry as well, that despite governance, we had an ecosystem of business. And once, and even to the startup culture which we have in our country, I think by the time the government was able to understand it, there was a unicorn culture which was happening, and then government started being part of it. I think the same has been happening for 5 years, roughly. If I see my recollection with regard to working with the All India Gaming Federation, you were part of it at some point of time. And, the government is dynamic about it, because I saw them taking a particular view. They are open to understand that what is happening. This is not which is into an entirely gray area anymore. With the kind of advertisements which are coming, the kind of writings which is happening in media, you are at the verge of starting to regulate on your own. Even that is welcome, and that will ultimately lead to some kind of formalization of this entire industry. So, how do you see this demystification happening?
So, my sense over here, Sudhir, is that, I came into the gaming world, we started a company in 2013. At that time, we were really struggling from the perception point of view only. And the perception right from the grassroots level to the top level, there was a significant, difference. You would not distinguish between what's game of skills and what's game of chance. Gambling and gaming are something which was always used interchangeably. So everyone used to consider gambling as gaming, gaming as gambling. So that is something which we right from starting have been working on, to change the perception of the people around us, change the perception of the users around us. We all know gaming in the past few years has already proved itself with an extraordinary growth, especially during this pandemic times as well. The current and we have already seen so many unicorns, like you rightly said. We are, gaming is currently far ahead of what and government is slightly behind. By the time now that the government has started looking into it, we already have seen quite a lot of unicorns come into from the gaming sector. The time currently is to really have a robust and a modern regulatory framework around the online gaming sector, and something where a policy which not only regulates the gaming but also boosts the industry, because the and for doing that they really need to understand how big the gaming can be. We have always seen in countries where gaming has been regulated, they are they are significant contributor to the GDP of that country, and that is the potential which the gaming industry has. Especially in India, we are very very sure that in years to come it can be a major contributor to the GDP of the country. But at this time, what we are looking at, and I'm really happy as a operator itself, operating games of skill, that we have seen that lately government is taking active active interest in it. We have seen them looking into it. We the potential of the industry is already been recognized by the law commission report, which clearly says that how big the industry can be going forward. And also some aspect has also been taken in the Niti Aayog report, in
Yes.
which they in which they have talked about maybe one
Yes.
aspect of gaming which is fantasy, but they have given their suggestions how big the industry can become. So I
Yeah.
think collectively the need is to have a central authority which looks at it and talks and looks at it with a view of making gaming one of the largest contributors to the GDP in the
Yeah.
country.
Good initial observations. Shivanandan, I'll ask you, we will go to the business part of it, but first tell us that we are almost ready for a all India mirror regulator. When I say mirror regulator, in broadcasting industry, in pharma, in e-commerce, a lot of mirror regulators have come where you can have retired judges, you can have ombudsmen who have been part of different judicial bodies, and you can create a robust system, which is something which government would look at and will say they are doing a good self-regulation. And that can be for rummy, poker, and all the e-sports and other variety of online platforms which are into this domain. And I have been saying this for last 2-3 years now. And it's very rightly said that the government is now clearly understanding that this is organized, this can be properly documented, this can be properly routed to the exchequer. And I'm sure that when Badri will speak, he will talk about the tax part and the benefits of it. But you tell us, are there being attempts done to create a regulator which mirrors the government efforts?
Okay, so I'll first take up the business thing, also the first question on that.
Sure.
The way I look at it, the overall industry. So I am, just to submit, I'm 1 year old in the industry, and now when I really look at it, having taken charge and building this business now, there are 4 elements which the government can very, very easily consider and look at it, right? From what this industry is contributing to the economy, right? Well, most of the points have been covered by my co-panelists here and friends here, right? Employment. Let's look at that. The first pillar is employment, right? What is the kind of talent which this industry seeks and will be able to hire, right? Or will be able to absorb? That talent with a no regulatory framework becomes a little challenging for us to attract great talent. Now, what is the kind of talent are we looking at? We are looking at great data, ML, AI, tech kind of talent, which is at the cutting edge, right? That's on the tech side. Investment required to grow this business, right? If the regulatory framework is not there, this industry globally has cumulatively overtaken Hollywood, music, and all entertainment business. See, this single industry, gaming industry, online gaming industry, and this is for the last 7 years continuously. It is generating that kind of revenues, right? Now look at that industry. This kind of industry size, what does it require? It requires huge investment. If we were to look at the e-commerce industry, which gained so much of, just one second, just hold on.
That's the perk, actually. When you're not on the dais and in your home, you can always do that.
Sorry,
No,
that was
all right.
Right.
Yeah.
If you look at from 2007, 2008 till 2016, over $4.5 billion came into e-commerce, and that ended up creating roughly $40 billion of value.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I'm not saying that internet gaming or online gaming would require those kind of things, or they may require that. That's not the debate. But look at this quantum of investment which it can attract, which the country can attract, this industry can attract from an investment point of view with a clear regulatory framework, right? The third pillar is consumer engagement. When the whole history since 2010, 2011, when esteemed founders, promoters started this industry, these particular verticals, the biggest challenge for any marketer in this industry is trust. How do I create trust in the consumer to part his wallet share, right? Now, how does that trust come? Yes, there is great amount of ownership or responsibility on all us as players, right? But at the same time, a regulatory framework, or the problem is when a state arbitrarily bans it, the communication on trust goes haywire, right? For the consumer, what is going to happen to my money? I am from here, tomorrow my statements, right? Absolutely. That's the third pillar, right? The fourth one is, which everybody is talking about, is the GST, or the tax to the exchequer, right? Yeah, now that's huge, but that is a result of the first three. If I am not able to attract consumers to trust, if I am not able to attract that investment to scale up, both from an talent perspective or from an acquisition of consumer perspective, where will this come? Now, internationally also, if you look at why it is high time that India looks at a very, very strong regulatory, let's accept it. This is a way of entertaining, way of passing time, way of thrill. When you play a poker game or a rummy, you get thrilled, right? There's excitement and you spend time. Now, this is bound to happen. We have seen Macau's rise in China happened sometime 1999, 2003, 2004, right? That's the period. And what was the GDP per capita income there? Anywhere from 1,500 to 2,300. India is from a purchasing power parity is there, right? Now, it is bound to happen that there will be a certain segment of consumers from this particular pool who would like to get entertained and spend time in this manner, right? So I would always say mirror or regulatory. It is high time that
do it. Just do
right?
it.
Just
Thank
do
you.
it. Right?
These are good initial observations. I'll come back to you, Shivanathan. I'll go to Badri Narayan, and I will tell on behalf of all the promoters who are here that you are talking to a lawyer who represents one of the finest tax firm we have in the country. And this is an opportunity to ask him, is it not a bad idea that we prepare a paper and say to the government, look what you're losing to Macau and all the other jurisdictions, which Ajit also will talk about. And Badri, one is the tax part, you should say that how much government will benefit if we really open up and structure it. The second thing is the myth about the taxes on these platforms. There are a lot of myths about it. Even I don't understand if somebody asks me this normally. And the third is that do you feel this alternative regulator is an answer?
Very good question, Sudhir, and thank you for this and for the opportunity to be part of this panel. So I'll take one by one each of these points and kind of quickly delve into each of them. One is first question you wanted to really understand is that what is it that we're going to lose out if we excessively tax this portion of gaming revenue, and what is it that India is really losing out on this? So I've always, whenever I've had conversations with the tax regulator, as also the central government and other people, the way I see it is that there are really two groups. One group which understands the gaming industry and understands that excessively taxing it is a problem. The second group, which basically equates gaming with gambling, effectively speaking, and wants to find ways by which we are able to tax it, really tax it out of the country. There are two real factions which I really encounter whenever I discuss with the regulators or people around that. I always say that if you take the KPMG EY reports, the industry in India for gaming is very huge now. I think there's no turning back and putting the clock back, so to say. And if you say, for example, some of the mature economies like UK, Europe, and other, they all have a mature way of kind of taxing these games, which is what I call as something which is not excessive, but not less also. So it's got a balance. The tax should be such that there should be enough collection of these amounts by the government. At the same time, it should not be so much that there is no incentive to play the game. To give you an example, for example, if I have a 100 rupee entry fee, and if I have to pay 35% as my TDS, which is a gross income tax, so that's 35 rupees gone. And then on top of that, you want to collect, say, 18 rupees on that ticket price as GST.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So effectively speaking, you almost have lost 53 rupees out of that. And so the remaining portion, I have to get my service fee, which can range between 5% to 18% of the ticket fee. So what remains in the price pool ultimately can be a very small amount. So that's the real problem which is there, right? So we always say that reduce this tax, okay? Keep it in a manner where, whatever the gross gaming revenue which the person is earning, to keep that as a basis for purpose of taxation, and try and reduce these, increase the slabs for income tax and kind of be a little bit more reasonable. Because what would really happen, I keep telling the regulators, if we excessively tax, it's not like you and I are not going to play, right? It's just going to go to some other jurisdiction. People are going to do things illegally. And then the whole taboo around it kind of reinforces itself. So I think taxing well also kind of gives data to the regulators. And I think today, the generation of promoters, entrepreneurs, funds, investors want to do things right. It's not like, an earlier generation where we would be okay doing things illegally because we grew from a highly regulated environment. That's the one aspect which is there. So I keep telling them, tax them properly, tax them in a manner which is going to be there. I'm going to take this other issue which you said with respect to alternate regulator. The real issue where I feel whenever I'm now talking on non-tax issues with the promoters and other areas, okay, there's this huge problem which gets, I think, it somewhere poisons the mind of some of the regulators, state governments especially, where they feel like excess gambling leads to breaking up of families, losing of money, and so on and so forth. So I think what they are trying to do is to kind of somehow regulate this area, the online gaming space, just like they would do the offline gaming space. And I think having strong alternative regulator who can be, like you said, ex-judges or even AIGF or any of these forums, which can then kind of say that this is what is the charter and this is how we are going to be playing. And we're going to ensure that people are not going to be taken advantage of. I think there'll be a huge difference. I think there's a big difference between how the central government approaches this, the state government. So in my view, I think alternate regulators is the way forward for this industry.
Wonderful. Good initial observations, Badri. Many thanks. I will come to Ajit Mishra. And my question to Ajit would be, Ajit, I and you have gone to ICE, which happens in London, and all of us have been part of it. I know the promoters would be going there surely. In February, twice, I remember we both traveled there. You were in a different firm. Now you are one of the partner, India desk head of Harrison Clark. Tell me, and Badri mentioned that there is a social angle attached to it. And especially with the kind of government we have in India, it's a very right of the right. So tell me, if it's on the right of the right, the perception issue that whether there are cultural reasons for misunderstanding, or do you think that this cultural misunderstanding that it is bad, it is a taboo issue, is now simply disappearing slowly with the kind of advertisements coming, with the kind of perception the government is having, and with the shortage of taxes being a top agenda for the finance minister? Do you think that cultural issue is something which because UK also had that previously, and they slowly managed to do it in late 90s, right?
Yeah, hi, Sudhir and other panel members. As Samir mentioned, that gaming and gambling, they at times they are considered to be similar, and biggest issue is that wrong perception. Uh, I think Shivanand he mentioned that it should be a sport rather than uh, considered as gambling. Now, see, if we talk about cultural issue, I think generally we have been taught and we are born with the perception that gambling is bad. And I'm not mixing two issues, but those issues are already mixed. When a child is born, uh, the parent, when they go for shopping, whether it will be a blue or a pink, that's where gambling starts. So gambling has always been in your life, and culturally, culturally, there has been examples in our society like Mahabharat, where there were two brothers, Pandav and Kaurav, okay, and Pandav gambled uh, and lost everything. They lost their property, they lost their wife, they lost everything, okay. But on the other side, there were Kauravs who actually gained everything out of it. Now, they were not playing responsibly. That was a game. They were not playing responsibly. It's government's role to come in and make regulations where people play with responsibility. If there was a responsibility, I don't think that losing uh, your wealth and wife and everything that won't have happened. So at this point, I think we gamble every day when we see weather forecast and we go out without umbrella. We gamble, isn't it? It's just when money is involved and some person gets emotional about it and uh, goes out and gambles, okay, and loses money, then it becomes bad. So I think that whole perception of gambling, that should be changed, and it should be treated as sport. In any case, that's a sport. When you buy a ticket and go to a sporting event, your team loses, okay, but we don't say that you lost the money. You say, okay, that was a game. So that perception need to be changed, and I think government of India, they are moving in right direction where they are actually coming up with the regulation. There's a perception which is happening right now. I think government has to play a huge and big role in regulating that sector.
Thank you, Ajit. Yeah, Mahabharata is there. And of course, we now, for the present period, Ramayana is the flavor in India. So naturally, that's also an issue. But Sarthak, you are youngest in this group, and I want to know you represent a very specialized sports law firm. Tell me two things. I feel that all the panelists will benefit out of it. One, what are the competition India has where our money is going? Which are the countries where our money is going? Everybody talked about our affluent classes, which is if you don't allow them here, they will play somewhere else. So which are those countries? First. Second, what is happening at the level of central government? Is there any movement?
Sure. So, yeah. Sure. First of all, thank you so much for having me on this panel. I think it's wonderful insights from everyone who have spoken before. Just taking the first question, I think there are two major areas that I feel Indians are investing money in when it comes to games. One is esports players. When they play esports in other countries, and we have a huge ecosystem that is still in the initial phase, but it is still developing at a rapid pace, where esports players are practicing, they are going outside, competing in international tournaments with other country players and having a shot at the titles as well. So I think a lot of investment cost in developing those players and going out there and playing in those fields is one thing that is that I'm observing in the industry. The second thing I feel, and I'm sure a lot of you must have observed this lately in the past 5-6 months, is the prevalence of betting websites in India. You'll have companies like Betway, Betfair, and all these sports betting websites that have now emerged in the last 5-6 months, which you don't see as an Indian operator offering, but foreign operators offering that a lot in India. And with so many events happening. The T20 World Cup is around the corner. There are so many bilateral series happening. The Olympics is right now going on, and with that combined with all the advertisement around it, I think a lot of people are now pursuing that as an option, and the money, I think, is going there as well. On the second question, sorry, I think you had
no, go ahead. Yeah,
sure. So on the second thing, on what is happening at the central level, I think one thing is definitely, like the other panelists have also spoken about, is the Niti Aayog paper on fantasy sports. Of course, that was a good starting point in terms of thinking about gaming, or even a segment of gaming at the central level. Even actually yesterday or day before yesterday, the new sports minister also spoke about the potential of esports in the country, and how Asian Games has now recognized it. So I feel there have been a lot of conversations at the central level. Even like some months back, Kiran Rijiju also spoke about esports. The Prime Minister Modi also said that how we should be developing indigenous games. But I think all of those have been conversations at this point, and there is no actual action that is happening. One thing I feel is the development from the legal point of view is happening at the state level. You'll have states that are now including websites, online gaming in their state legislation. You have Telangana, you had Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh. Now even UP came out with their gaming commission report where they spoke about online gaming. So the sense of online gaming is coming into the state legislations, but thinking about having a central law, a uniform law that cuts across all the states, I think still there is some movement that is missing there. We had good positive in 2018 when Mr. Tharoor presented the bill, but after that, I didn't see much movement there.
Sarthak, very good points, and we will be just going for the final rounds and very short final round. Samir, I'll just tell you, you represent a federation, and I tell you one good thing about this government is, and I do a lot of advocacy on climate change and environment. So when the plastic was being thought to be banned in 2019 October, I was seeing that how many representations were going to the government at that time by the people who pack all the packaging industry and the use of single-use plastic, and the e-commerce companies that come in picture. And I realized that every particular business has a federation or some kind of association, and they had very specialized policy advocacy team to spearhead. In fact, we can make a suggestion that the multinationals have shown us that their policy advocacy team, both Ajit and Badri will agree with me, that they have solid work on that thing. See, government wants to be guided. And here, when we see government, it's not only Niti Aayog and the government, there are bigger think tanks which also guide them. So what are your, if I ask you in 1 minute, are you going in that direction? Because it's one big push which is required for systematically putting it in order. Yeah, you mute.
Yeah, Sudhir, I'll just take 20 seconds of that 1 minute first to just talk about self-regulation.
Yeah.
We've had a self-regulatory process in place since 2019. We are set up actually as a self-regulator for the online rummy industry. A highly robust system. We've had international consultants which you conferred with to put the code together. And I won't get into the details, but very happy to share it with anyone over here who wishes to. The companies right now, like Puneet, for example, is certified, is one of our certified members. And we have an independent third-party system in place. So the audits are done by one of the big 4 auditing firms. So we've ensured that, it's not us making the standard and us also. So, I mean, just to say that that's already in place. In our case, it's auditable. In the case of AIGF, it's self-certified. And I believe FIFS, which is the Fantasy Operators Federation, also has a system to a certain extent, at least, in place, which is again self-certified. So, just to say that is already in place. To answer your question, and that dovetails well with what I just spoke about and what some of the others have spoken about. The key issue here is basically to do with 2 things, I would think. A, it has to do with perception, and everyone's spoken a fair amount of that. And perception is not really about just real money gaming. Perception is basically video games are bad. To use very common jargon, if you talk to a parent, They will not say e-gaming, mobile. Video games are bad. Screen time is bad. There is it's got to do with, parents, supposedly responsible parents now saying that we will allow only 30 minutes of screen time during the day because it's bad for you, this, that, and everything. And paradoxically, the schools now are running 8 and 9 hours a day where everything's on video. And suddenly in the last 1 year, that seems to be the new normal, and that's okay. It's just strange how these things happen.
And you don't get laptops now in market very easily. Yeah,
you don't. So, I mean, one is to say that the perception is far more deep rooted than just cultural. There is it's this 6 blind men and an elephant sort of scenario where everyone has a different thing. A is that the industry needs to work on addressing that. It's the industry's responsibility to educate the ecosystem that, this is not what you think it is. It can be done responsibly. It's a form of entertainment. If enjoyed responsibly, it's amazing. It has its own positives. I mean, we have the IIM Ahmedabad having a course on poker. How many people know that? I mean, there is a need to sort of be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
Why I'm talking about it is because the regulator is brown, to use that word, right? And to get across to a government official, a senior government official, a law enforcement agency, even the legal system at times, it's very difficult because of this perception. Things are not considered from purely a objective perspective. There is a phenomenal amount of subjectivity that comes in.
I agree.
So, for example, 6 to 7 months back, we tried to do this. We actually ran a campaign on TV and on responsible gaming. And the sad truth is that we had a lot of our own gaming companies who actually came back to us and said, why are you talking about it? These are not our members, of course. These are parts of the ecosystem that exists.
Hold your thoughts here, because I think Bhavna has already appeared. Bhavna, we started 5 minutes late, so you will have to give me 5 minutes. I'll go 1 minute. Samit, many thanks, and this requires a more bigger deliberation. Puneet, your final 1 minute thoughts about where do we head from here?
Yeah, like Samir had mentioned, we are a part of TURF as well as the AIGF as well. We know that these federations are working very hard to get their charters in place, right from the way of working to the taxation part, and also in terms of improving the perception among they're regularly talking to the governments, putting in the representing papers and so on. But I would also like to point out, because it is not regulated, it gives the freedom to the international betting companies to operate easily over there, which is causing a major damage to the perception when it comes to gaming and gambling, and then these two words being used interchangeably. Because the reason is because we are already seeing so many, like Sarthak had mentioned, so many international betting companies openly advertising. I think we as TURF as well as AIGF has made many representations, not just to the government, but also to the different gateways, different marketing companies, to stop taking assignments from them. But I think till the time it's not clearly regulated, till the time government realizes that the potential is huge and we need to regulate it, that is the time when we would be able to really grow the Indian industry first, and then attract the global investors and the investment which is required to grow this industry.
Thank you, Puneet. Thanks a lot. Shivanandan ji, one minute. Your final. You gave 4 beautiful suggestions. Your final 1 suggestion. Yeah, you're mute.
My barometer is: will consumer continue to play? He will or she will continue to play. Right?
Yeah.
So that is your consumer demand is in place. Now, this demand gets catered in a regulated manner or in an unregulated manner is a large question. Who loses it? The government loses, and the businesses like us, right? Which is again indirectly a loss to the Indian country, right? So that's how I would put it. Now, in terms of risk, or from a consumer perspective, anything which is an indulgence, which crosses the boundary of limit, whether it is movie. We have seen the biggest threat over the last 15 years since the onslaught of social media is consumer psyche itself. That is a very, very subtle, and that nobody realizes. If you compare that with any of these games, what are these games do? They play at two levels. One is at the mental level, which is the memory or a calculation, right? The second is strategy level. And when these two are, they inherently stimulate human beings and make them healthy, right?
Thank you.
That's how I would like to put it.
Thank you, Shivanandanji. Badri, your final suggestion?
Yeah, I'll just give 2-3 bullet points which I think we should look at. One, I think there are a lot of games that are coming up. There's some good games which are, I think, clearly games of skill. But there are more and more games which I think kind of blur the boundary between games of skill and games of chance. I think regulating that is going to be important, especially for some bodies. And usually that's the one, like the rotten apple, kind of kills the remaining pieces in the basket. So that's one thing I think we should talk about. Second thing I think is that very clearly from a taxation point of view, I feel that, or even from a gaming point of view, I feel that there should be a lot more collaboration among the players and the operators. I sometimes feel that if there's a perception that one set of operators is suffering, other kind of holds back, okay? Or another operator is getting something, instead of supporting it and then saying that I'll also get some benefit out of it, we tend to kind of spend a lot of time kind of saying that why that person should not get the benefit. I think that's one area where we need to think through and how to improve from that perspective.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Ajit?
Those are my 2 points which I thought was important.
Ajit, your final suggestion?
Well, in a way, my suggestion is extension of what Shivanand said. Consumer will keep on playing and they won't stop. They will find their way how to play. Okay, if Indian sector is not regulated and it's not regulated properly, foreign players will always have an advantage of the gray area, and they are doing that. And I'm not saying that's good or bad, because at times those guys are my clients, so I'm not saying that's bad. What is onus on Indian government is regulation and education. If customers are educated, they play responsibly, they make money. Somebody loses money, somebody makes money, but that's part of life. But education and regulation, these are two important aspects.
Thank you, Ajit. Sarthak, final words to you.
Sure, I'll just make one suggestion, and that is basically central government coming out with a law, the central law empowering a self-regulatory organization at a pan-India level to deploy a mathematical test that kind of demarcates between game of skill and game of chance, because that's one thing that even the Indian courts haven't been able to solve for.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, all of you. What an engaging panel discussion we had. We'll meet some other time, some other day. Bhavna, all yours.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Mishra. Thank you for moderating it so wonderfully. Thank you to all our eminent panelists for joining us today.